Welcome to the City Center Podcast. I'm Jerry Marcello. There's no denying that West Palm Beach is a city on the move. But with every new development comes concerns about traffic and congestion. How does a city on the move keep moving when getting around becomes a real challenge? West Palm Beach is hard at work developing a transportation and mobility plan that will hopefully keep things moving for decades to come. We'll take a look. That's next on the City Center Podcast from West Palm Beach. Joining us today is Jessica Keller, Parking and Mobility Administrator for the City of West Palm Beach. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, traffic is obviously a problem anywhere you'll go in South Florida, the state, the whole country. Traffic is an issue everywhere. Obviously, the City of West Palm Beach is stepping up. They're wanting to make some changes. What exactly do you do, and how do we go forward from here?
Well, I've been with the city for 2.5 years. And when I initially joined the city, I interviewed for the position of transportation and mobility manager. And my interview was, I like to tell this story. When I walked into the interview, I had traveled here from Miami, where I live part-time. And I was a few moments late. And I opened with, "Hi, I'm Jessica Keller, and I'm here to help you not become Miami." And I meant that in the context of congestion.
Sure.
And here in the city of West Palm Beach, this is an amazing opportunity to get ahead of it, as opposed to places further south who are catching up.
I hear you, and actually, that's really, really smart. I've been in other cities where their own growth, their own success seems to be their poison. They're not planning for the future, and the future comes and they're not ready. And what you're saying is that West Palm Beach is trying to avoid that exact situation.
Yes. And recently, you introduced me as the city's parking and mobility administrator. So I was recently promoted, and that is a reflection of the city recognizing the connection between parking and transportation is something that everyone thinks about. Ideally, what we want to have happen here in the city is that you park one time and you forget about it, and you have the ability to choose multiple transportation options to get to the places that you want to go, particularly downtown.
Gotcha. So, are you thinking of people who are driving into town and parking, or are we talking about folks who live here in town just leaving their cars at home?
Well, it's both. How we're thinking about how we address both. We have the commuters who are coming into town, people who are visiting, because was it 10, 15 years ago, we were we were a growing core, and now we are a national destination.
Yeah.
And so, my role and the whole team that works with me, our role is to be able to move people around with ease in the city.
Okay, moving people around with ease in the city. Specifically, how do you accomplish that?
Well, we have to build the infrastructure, which we are actively doing. And we also have to have a transportation system that is beyond the infrastructure. And I'm going to want to talk about the RIDE WPB program.
Okay.
Over the past 2.5 years, we've had a stopgap program. I think a lot of people remember the trolley that was here forever, and people loved the trolley. The data didn't support that love. The ridership was very low leading up to COVID. And then the city put in place a stopgap program, which has been branded as RIDE WPB. And that transportation system, which is temporary, is available and accessible primarily to the people downtown.
Right.
But we're going to be expanding it.
Let's talk a little bit about the specific features of Ride West Palm Beach. What exactly are there buses? Are there cars? What are we talking about?
Well, currently people use an app, and they can get on-demand service, door-to-door service for a small fee, depending on where you're going. There's also a fixed route that just circulates in downtown.
Okay.
The reach isn't quite as expansive as we want, but we collected a lot of data that helped inform where we're going in the future to have greater coverage across the city.
Okay, so the experiences that you're gathering now and the data you're gathering now will help you with your plans for the future.
Absolutely. And they have informed us where we're going in the future. So I can talk a little bit about that as well.
Mhm.
So within the next year, within the next 12 months, we will be launching a new program. It will be our permanent program. And that will provide coverage to almost 100,000 people that live in this city and work in this city. It will be composed of fixed route transit.
Okay.
There'll be flashy vehicles branded for West Palm Beach, and it will also include on demand systems. And some of the feedback that we got from the community is that they had to wait too long for on demand service. Well, the new program is going to give our users less than 15-minute wait times for on demand, but fixed route service will be less than 8 minutes. And what that means is that if you go to your transit stop,
Mhm.
you're not going to wait any longer than 8 minutes for a fixed route vehicle to swing by and pick you up and take you further along your destination. And that is unparalleled anywhere. And the goal of the Ride WPB program, primary objective is to reduce congestion. And the best way that we can do that is provide reliable, frequent service.
Right. So help me understand fixed route transportation. Is that a bus or what form does it take?
Well, you won't see your traditional bus
Okay.
on West Palm Beach streets. We recognize there's a certain stigma attached to what the traditional bus looks like. So we're looking for something flashy and new.
Mm.
I'm really excited about it because we want people to be curious. And they're not necessarily curious about a traditional bus, but they are curious about something that looks different, maybe something that they may see in a different country.
Mm.
Um, I hear lots of stories about how the transportation system is so much better other places, and
Sure.
we look to those places
I was going
to
to ask you that.
help inform where we want to go.
Did you actually look at the systems that are, say, in Europe or in other parts of the world to sort of get ideas?
I didn't have the luxury of going,
Oh,
but I certainly did the research.
and so tell me a little bit more about on demand. How would that work? Is it? It sounds a little bit like ride sharing to a degree, but it's not.
Yeah, so the new system will be one where we have an app, of
Okay.
course, and you are able to possibly schedule the time you want it to be picked up. And we also have the ability for people to call in. That is something else that we heard from customers of our stopgap program
Mhm.
is that they wanted the ability to be able to call in, particularly older customers that wanted to be able to call by phone.
Sure, sure. So all these current temporary programs are designed to help you gather information. Were there other ways that you reached out to the community to find out what they needed and what they wanted?
Yes, when I first got here,
Mhm.
I visited a number of downtown condos, going to our customers as opposed to asking the customers to come to us. So I visited them in their homes, I
Mhm.
visited them at school.
Mm.
We held a number of community engagement meetings across the city, and it was very well attended. And I have somewhat created a following, if you will, of people who are truly interested in transportation. And those people that I met on the road have been constantly providing us feedback. When I would find a vehicle that was interesting that we might service in the permanent program, I would run it by those people who have engaged with me because we really legitimately do care
Mhm.
what people think and what might make more people ride a transportation system.
Gotcha. Obviously, a lot of people come into the city from outside communities, coming into West Palm Beach to go to work. Is that a large issue, a large factor in the issue of congestion in the city, or is it something that you're not too concerned about?
We are concerned about it, but our primary focus was initially on the downtown core.
Downtown, right?
And we have since expanded. We are currently developing a citywide mobility plan. We finished the downtown mobility plan. The commission adopted it, and we've now expanded out to the citywide. And this past August, we held a community engagement meeting for people to provide input to what that citywide mobility plan is. And then, of course, we also have to think outside of our borders. And one of the things that's pretty exciting to me is this renewed relationship with the county. The county's transportation goals are very much aligned with the city of West Palm Beach. And they weren't always that way. And so it's really exciting to know that we're going to be working directly with the county to address our transportation and congestion issues.
So, and in what sort of relationship do we have with the county? Are we going to be working on locations or transportation modes? What sort of a partnership will we have with them?
Well, recently we entered into an MOU, a memorandum of understanding.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
And in that MOU, the county identified projects in their right of way to increase capacity, and the city identified projects on our right of way.
Hmm.
And jointly, we are collecting a mobility fee from developments that come into the city of West Palm Beach. And then we use that funding to build the infrastructure that's identified in the mobility plan.
You touched on something that it may be a little bit out of the scope of our conversation, but I think it's worth mentioning. You mentioned that certain roads are the responsibility of the county and other roads are a responsibility of the city. How often do you have someone who comes to you to make a comment or a suggestion about a section of roadway that we have no control over?
It happens pretty frequently. And it's that renewed relationship with the county
Mhm.
that gives me a lot of hope that we'll be able to find solutions that make the people that use our roadways or live along county roadways. It gives me renewed hope that we're going to find solutions to make the communities more livable.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Now we've talked about the the immediate need to make some changes to make improvements, and your hard work at that. Looking beyond just the next year or 2 years, I mean, what do we think will be the problems of transportation, say, in another 5 or 6 years here in West Palm Beach?
That's a really interesting question because I'm very optimistic about where we're going to be in 5 or 6 years. If I was working someplace else, I wouldn't be as optimistic as I am. I think that our traffic and congestion concerns are going to be reduced in 5 or 6 years. And the reason I believe that is because of the amount of effort that the city and our partners, the county, even private entities are putting into building out the infrastructure and transportation programs
Mhm.
ahead of the development. I think that we're going to be in a position where we're not quite as worried.
And again, you hit on a very important theme that I think is part of what you're working towards is getting ahead of the situation, putting in the infrastructure, putting the systems in place before a problem actually occurs.
Yes.
You mentioned something important. You mentioned working with partnerships with both the county and other government agencies, but also mentioned private entities. How can local business take part in this and help improve the situation?
Well, they can always reach out to me, of course. But the city is part of the Mobility Coalition. And the Mobility Coalition is where it's literally a huge table. 30 people sit around it once a month. And we all have a mutual interest in addressing congestion in the city of West Palm Beach. And that coalition is unlike anything that I have participated in my entire career. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And the effort and interest and commitment of everyone who sits around that table um, to address the potential transportation issues that would occur if we didn't address them now, it's amazing.
Hmm.
And I would really encourage for our the private community to look into WPB Go, the Mobility Coalition.
All right, so this is all very fascinating. I would assume that most likely the information that people would like to learn about this program is going to be available at the city website at wpb.org. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So go there, you'll find the information. My guess is you probably want to search on transportation or mobility, and poof, it'll all pop up for you right there.
That's correct. And we try to keep it up to date. I also pride myself into being responsive and accessible to residents, the business community. And so people are always encouraged to reach out to me. And I may not always provide the answer that they want to hear,
Hmm.
but I'm certainly willing to listen and take some of the best ideas addressing traffic and congestion have come from the community. Because who doesn't know better than the people who live on those streets and work on those streets what the problems are? And some of those solutions to address those problems come from them.
Here's an opportunity that I think will be really valuable. You have a mic. You have an opportunity to send a message to the folks who live here in West Palm Beach about what you do and about the challenges and also solutions that we've talked about today. What would be a message you would like to really share with the folks at home?
Well, I would really like them to be engaged. I want them to come out when we launch our Ride WPB program, the relaunch, because that is going to be an exciting moment for the city to have the opportunity to have access to a transportation system that is world class. And I don't say the word, I really mean world class. I don't say that lightly. I encourage people to stay engaged and, reach out. Stay tuned, of course.
Yeah.
There's so much more to come. We're going to be rolling out the updated bicycle master plan. You had asked earlier about how we're addressing things across the city. I didn't get a chance to talk about the updated bicycle master
Tell me
plan.
about it.
We're getting ready to bring it to commission,
Yeah.
hopefully sometime in January. We have a lot of things happening in January. And it addresses the entire city, but the objective is a low stress network.
What
And
does that mean?
what a low stress network means is if you think about when you're walking down a busy street, let's think about walking down Okeechobee. How would you feel?
I would be stressed. Nothing against Okeechobee, but yeah, I'd be a little stressed. Okay.
So we want to create an environment so that when you ride your bike on Okeechobee, it would be a low stress experience.
Okay.
And that's possible. That's possible through good design. And that is what we are looking to do through this update. It will be funded through the mobility fee that I talked about earlier. So it's not just a pipe dream. These are real things that are actually happening so that you can choose to ride your bike to go downtown. And it's not going to be a stressful situation unless you're trying to avoid a rainstorm in the summer.
Right. And actually, it's interesting transformation because you say ride a bike and people automatically jump to it being just a recreation. What you're describing is turning a bicycle into a legitimate form of transportation. I need to go to the store or I need to pop over to work. And it's possible if the roads are safe and it creates a low stress situation for the rider.
Jerry, what is really interesting about West Palm Beach, which really surprised me when we looked into the data, is that the primary use of a bicycle in the city
Mhm.
is for commuting. It's
Oh,
already happening, but it's a low number of people who are commuting. And we want to see more people be able to do that safely.
So how about that? That's a good, incorrect assumption on my part. So it is being used for transportation city, but the goal is to increase those numbers as we go forward.
Well, the goal is to reduce congestion.
Oh yeah,
So, however people choose to, if they choose to ride a bike, if they choose to use our transportation system, if they choose to walk, we are building more sidewalks, we're installing more trees so that it makes that experience much more pleasurable.
gotcha. You see, part of what you work with is obviously parking. Parking is also another point of contention for some people about the availability of parking, especially on very high traffic days or on events downtown. Um, how will we be dealing with that in the future?
Well, everyone wants to park directly in front of the restaurant
Yeah.
or the store that they want to go to. And the reality of that is that we can't all do that at
Mm,
the same time. So, in my dream world, is that we have just the right amount of capacity in our parking garages, and we would be able to go to the parking garage and pay for our parking. And then through that same app,
mm.
we'd be able to pay to use the transportation system. We would be able to use one of the bright bikes. We'd be able to use various modes through one system. So it would be like a menu.
Sure. So the idea of having multiple forms of transportation really sort of folds into the concept that you can park your car here, but then to get to where you're going, you could use one of the modes of transportation we have available. Sort of all mixes together.
Yes, I assure you that riding your bike is way more fun than sitting alone in your car in traffic. You will feel so much better
Yeah,
than when you're sitting on, hate to pick on Okeechobee,
sure.
but Okeechobee,
We love Okeechobee. You guys are great.
I assure you, you will feel much better riding your bike than you will sitting in traffic alone.
Fantastic. So we covered a lot of ground here. Obviously, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of plans, both temporary and long term, that are coming together to get ahead of congestion, to get ahead of the problems that other cities are seeing, so that it doesn't happen here in West Palm Beach.
One of the things people see as a barrier of transportation is that they don't feel safe. And it's no secret, maybe not everyone is aware, but Florida is one of the least safe places to ride your bike
Hmm.
or to walk in the country. And the city is also developing a Safe Streets for All action plan. So, what that is doing is it's addressing the locations that have the highest rates of crashes. And we're going to make safety improvements in those locations to address the danger that is there. The other thing is the other side effect of addressing those safety problems is frequent crashes cause frequent congestion. So they're tied together.
So, are you saying that we're thinking that a lot of the problems that we're seeing with these high conflict areas, these high accident areas, is it's more its design than say poor driving?
That's a tricky question.
Yeah.
It's a combination. So we know we have a distracted driving problem. I moved here from the state of Maryland 13 years ago, and we had hands free driving then.
Hmm.
So when I moved here, I went back in time because everyone was using their phone. So we have a distracted driving problem, but we also have a design problem. And the city of West Palm Beach has absolutely been a leader. I have to give all the credit in the world to my predecessors to getting the ball rolling of designing safe streets. When you walk down Clematis, you don't have a fear of being hit by a driver because people are moving slowly. you have nice surroundings. And so we take that and we repeat it across the city and provide a safe environment for everyone, the drivers, the people walking, the people biking, and you address that through design.
And through design and through planning, like what you're doing, you are making the city prepared for the future as we continue to grow. A tremendous amount of work. And I want to thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. The City Center podcast is launching its second full year of video podcasts, and we've got a lot in store for 2026. So feel free to follow or subscribe to get the latest from the City of West Palm Beach. This has been a production of the City of West Palm Beach Communications Department. I'm Jerry Marcello. We'll see you next time.